Summer travel is finally here, and so is the stress that comes with it. There's delays, there's crowds, there's packing dilemmas, and prices that seem to change by the minute. Our next guest is a seasoned travel expert here to help you take off without the chaos. He's here to share travel tips to help you navigate like a breeze and enjoy the journey. Brandon Blewett is the author of How to Avoid Strangers on Airplanes, a humorous guide for travelers. Great to have you, Brandon. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes. Okay. So, Brandon, when it comes to booking flights, what's the best route to get those good prices? Is it better to lock in early or kind of wait around for a deal? What would you suggest?
I think it depends on your approach, right? If you know you're locked into a destination, I would say as soon as you've planned the trip, go ahead and go to a flight aggregator like Google Flights and have it set reminders to check fares and let you know when prices get below your budget threshold. I always tell people once it's gotten to your budget threshold, go ahead and book. That way you're not worried about the fares escalating and rising in price. The other option though is if you're not particularly set on a set destination, sometimes airlines have fare sales, last minute a weekend getaways, and that can also be a way to get away and it be a little bit friendlier on the wallet.
Okay, I like it. If you kind of already know the dates you want to get, look at the prices now, and if it fits within your budget, do it. If you're a little bit more lenient and not sure, that's where you look for those deals. And once you've booked the flight, you're headed to the airport, your flight gets delayed. It happens, Brandon, but what can we do to keep it together when our flight times kind of fall apart?
There's two things that you can do. One is the practical approach, and that is go to the flight board and look at where your airline is flying to. If you're connecting, there may be a connection at a different middle stop than the current one that you're on. So if say you're in Sacramento and your goal is to get to Atlanta and you're flying American and you're going through Dallas, there might be another route through Chicago. If you're able to piece that itinerary together, getting really familiar with the airline's website, with their app, and you approach the gate agent with a proactive plan, they're going to be a lot more likely to be able to help you out because they're not having to do all the homework for you. But the other thing that I always say is make sure that you have downloaded content on your iPad, on your laptop, a device that you're looking forward to catching up on because you haven't had time. If you do end up in a delay where you can't get on a different flight, having something enjoyable to do is going to make the time much better to to pass by.
Yes, kind of prep for those delays just in case. I like that. And then frequent flyers, they seem to kind of handle the airport chaos differently. What are they doing differently than maybe somebody who's traveling for the first time or they're just not used to it as much?
I think it's the familiarity with the airport and the entire process. So what people can do ahead of time is look at the layout of the terminal, look at where the restaurants are if you're planning to eat dinner or lunch or breakfast at the airport. Look where your gate is when it gets assigned in the app, and then look at how far that is from the TSA entry point. I think that if you get familiar with the airport, there's a lot less unknown and it just seems a lot less chaotic. And for those of us that are there every week, it's sort of we know it like the back of our hand.
Yes, I like that because there's been times where I'm like at a different airport, TSA, I'm like, okay, gate's A14, it can't be that far. And then it's a trek. So it's good to know how
Right.
far away it is from where you're going to be starting that journey. And then, Brandon, packing for a trip, sometimes it can be hard enough. Like me, I'm a last minute packer, which isn't always the best. But what do you bring when there's a chance your itinerary might change?
I think the most important thing to do, if you're going to check a bag, that is great, but always make sure you have 24 hours worth of clothing, toiletries, medications, chargers, all on a bag that fits under the seat in front of you, because then no matter what happens to your luggage, you at least have 24 hours to either get the bag from the airline, or if you need to run to a store and get a few more pieces of clothing, at least you're not having to wear the same thing for 24, 48 hours straight.
Yes. And then travel stress can kind of make anyone lose their cool here and there. So how can we avoid that spiral and just stay calm as best as we can?
I think the biggest thing that we can do is we can get as much sleep as we can the night before, and then make sure that you've eaten before you get to the airport. My mom said, you're not you when you're hungry. I have a tendency to get hangry. I think that if people are well rested and you eat a little bit, your mood tends to be a little bit better. And then another thing that you just have to keep in mind is you don't want to be one of those viral passengers, right? And everybody around you has their phone. So if you remember that, hey, you could be infamous for all the wrong reasons, that sometimes helps keep the behavior in check.
I like that. You don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons, especially at the airport.
Right.
Brandon, you gave us so many golden gems when we're traveling for our summer vacation plans. Appreciate all of the tips that you gave us today. I'm going to let our viewers know where they can get a little bit more information about you. You can get the latest tips to make your travel plans live up to your expectations. You can find out more by heading to BrandonBlewett.com.